Hey, hi. So, first thing first, stay at home. The situation is getting worse in at least here in Bangalore, and it is lockdown started for next 10 days. So, it is better we stay at home and keep ourselves and more importantly our parents safe. I have only two requests from you guys. One is that if you feel that this video makes sense to you or to someone whom you think would be benefited by this video, share it to them. And the second thing is, if you find that I am saying something wrong or probably you have some opinion about what I am saying, it might be in favor or against the things I am saying. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it, and let's look into what are the other possibilities. So just two things: share it with your friends, and let's have a discussion over it. Okay, so today I'm going to basically talk about how you should choose a DevOps lead for your team. Choosing the right lead for DevOps in your team will decide a lot of things in your project. It will decide what you will face in future as a problem or what you will sail through with ease. Choosing the lead with the right mindset makes or breaks the deal. Okay, so let's get into it and talk about 7 traits of a good DevOps lead. So number 1, the focus. The focus of the DevOps lead is very important for your team. And this is probably the first question you should ask when you get a lead in your team for DevOps. And if he says that I want to set up this, set up that, then tell yourself that this might not be a good idea. The lead's focus should be where it is matters the most. The business and the business and the business. He should be talking about how does he help the team to increase the speed, to improve the quality, and to cut the overhead. If he is not talking around these terms, if he does not need to use these terms, but if his theme is not around these words, then he is not focused at the right place. DevOps is not about how we do it. DevOps is about what are we trying to achieve from it. That is very important. So focus is very important thing. The second thing is he should be contextual, not procedural. When you look into DevOps, there's a lot of processes, lot of standards, lot of best practices already given, and somebody would like to to demonstrate his best work. He would like to stuff all those things in your project. Okay, that might not be good. That is what I am terming here as procedural. That you don't need to follow all the procedures and the best practices given in the world. Not required. Rather, he should be contextual. And what do I mean by contextual? Is that he should be aware of the context of the project, the team, the client, the infrastructure, the dynamics of how we are doing things, the project delivery methodology. These are the context of your project. If he is deciding something before knowing the whole context of the project and the limitations and the constraints around it, and if he's coming and telling you that I am going to do this, then that is not a good idea. First thing is that he needs to set himself inside the context of the project and then start thinking. So being contextual is very, very important. The third important thing is that he should be supportive, not restrictive. What do I mean by supportive and not restrictive? Is that when you are in the context and you have the focus of speed, quality, and cutting the overhead thing, you need to think from the perspective that what can be done so that team can actually increase its speed. It might not be the default or the best practice given in the good books or the Bibles of DevOps, that might not be applicable here, but what actually on the ground in the context of the project makes the team go faster, that is what he is supposed to do, and he is supposed to come up with the solutions which helps the team. The demands might be non-trivial, demands might be very very weird, but demands are demands, and this is what is required, and he should be able to support those demands and help the team in getting those things done, instead of telling that this does not fall in the best practice, that best practices are not, the silver bullet. It does not fit. It is just a hint that what best can be done does not need that is the way to do the thing. There can be various other ways to solve one problem. Number 4, after being supportive and not restrictive, he still need to be very very vigilant about what is happening inside the team, because though we are talking about supporting the team and increasing the speed, in the end we have humans working and they make mistakes. Sometimes they are mischievous, but sometimes they make mistakes. They do things which are not supposed to be done, and it does not mean that your DevOps team should allow everything what is happening. It should allow the things which helps you in making things work faster and go better. But on the name of that, it should not happen that everything, all the crap is going, and it is given the green signal that anything can happen in this world. No, he should be vigilant to decide what is allowed or what is not allowed, and it does not need to be a procedural thing. He might have checks and balances inbuilt in the system which decides and predicts what is going wrong and what is not allowed. The system should be smart. It is not the person who needs to be looking into who is doing what. For example, of being supportive is that somebody says that I want to deploy anything in the dev environment, no matter which branch the code is into. Valid. Somebody would say that no, this is not allowed. You should deploy only if something is coming from development branch. But let's not be restrictive. Let them deploy. If they are trying to do something, let them do that. Okay, give them enough environment or enough space to do their things. But say, if I have the access to deploy something from any branch into the dev environment, does not mean the same deployment can go into the QA or the UAT environment. Our pipelines should be smart enough to identify that what is being deployed where, and should have the tracking system smart enough to detect that this deployable is not is not valid for this environment because it is probably built on some feature branch. So these kind of things are to be monitored and watched. So being vigilant is very important because we are dealing with humans in that. The 5th item, which is very important for the DevOps lead, is the communication and the collaborative behavior, because the role of the DevOps is the gray area. It goes into the operation, it comes into the development. You need a guy who might be talking to a various type of people, maybe management, maybe infra guys, maybe the application team. These are the basic touch points of a DevOps team. So there is always a dispute. The core ops team or the infra team might be saying something which developers are not able to understand because they talk a different language. These guys talk a different language, and our management talks a different language. So the communication skill is very 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 core of this role, and we need to talk to a lot of people to come to a collaborative, agreeable solution, and that needs a lot of communication. So communication is the key. So that is something which we need to take care when we select a DevOps lead. The 6th trait is the open-mindedness. Okay, when I say open-mindedness, what I am trying to convey here, that we already talked about being supportive, still being vigilant, and think about an agreeable solution. But even after doing all these things, sometimes we fall into a situation where it is a particular scenario which is exceptional case. Now, by the means of standards and procedures, that exceptional case might not be allowed. So he should be strong enough to say that this is not allowed. But at the same time, maybe that is the only way team can go in that particular situation. Team does not have any other way to go about the situation at that point of time under XYZ certain circumstances. And at the time when he should be strong enough to say no, he should also be open enough to say yes and accept it. But it is the exceptional cases I'm talking about, because these cases on the ground happens. No matter how many rules you set, no matter how many things you do, you fall into exception. That is the ground reality. And at that time, you need a guy who can take a fair decision. The fair decision can be no, the fair decision can be yes, but he should have the capability to be open about the situation and take the fair decision on the basis of what is the context, what is the situation. So being open-minded is very, very important. The seventh trait, and the last but not the least, literally, is that your DevOps lead must have an application development background. You cannot take a guy who has zero application development background, has only worked in DevOps COE, or probably only started his career with DevOps, or probably has worked only in the ops world and never in the dev world. You cannot take that guy as a DevOps lead. If you do, he will not be able to make fair decision when it comes to talk to all those three parties we discussed about: the PMs, the managers, basically the development team and the ops team. He will have a bias towards the ops ideas. He would be less open towards the development team, because he might not be able to understand the pain of the development team, what they are going through, or under what situation they have done something, right? So, and that is not the only reason that he needs to have a dev background. The another reason of dev background is that being the DevOps guy, your role is to enable the team in doing the best. It is not just giving the automation. Okay, a team is trying to write an application which will run in operational mode in some infrastructure. You are the guy, being the DevOps lead, would have the idea of how best it works in that environment versus what is being coded and how it is being coded, and what can be better options to code it in a better way or to implement it in a better way so that it works more efficiently, more flexibly in the operational environment. So having the knowledge of both the worlds is very, very important. You never ever take a lead for your DevOps team who does not have application development experience. He must have the blend of application development and the operations skills. If these two skills are not together, you are not taking a right DevOps lead for your team. This is very important. It will decide a lot of things. So please be careful when you choose the lead for your DevOps team. This is the core part of how DevOps works. Your development team will not be learning operations. Your operations teams, the core infrastructure team, will probably never be able to talk the language of the application team. Okay, it's a gap, and this DevOps guy at times fills it. So he needs to have that communication and the knowledge and the experience of both the worlds. So you need to take care of that part. That is very important. So these were the 7 traits I talked about, and here's the list. So if you think this list is incomplete and there are more things you think should be added into this list, then let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it, and again, if you think this makes sense to someone, forward it to them. It might help them. Thank you.